your feet at the bottom end of the upper legs that come up into the hips, right? Top end of the legs, the hips, and the bottom end of the leg is the feet. It's on either side of the body. It's not in the center. There's no support for the body in the center of it, like down at the bottom of us where our feet are. So we have to transfer weight left to right as we walk, slightly. But what I'm saying with this video's title, okay, the 29th of June, 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here, spoken by me, Evan Strong, the founder and leader for life of In The Image Clothing Company, okay. An uneven amount of steps is actually an even transfer of weight, okay? An uneven amount of steps is an even transfer of weight because of what's happening anatomically in the body, the way it's connected at the hinges, levers, and rotations that the human being is, okay? Just measurable mathematical degrees of hinges, levers, and rotations is all the human being is, determined by the shape and length of our own individual bones, okay? They just connect directly to each other. But this transfer of weight over Earth's center of gravity, yikes, here's the airplane. I'm going to discuss this pretty thoroughly, okay? Let's wait for the airplane noise just for a little bit. It's pretty loud right now. When we do transfer weight, okay, left and right on our left foot or our right foot, evenly opposing the center line of the body, evenly opposing Earth's vertical centered gravity pull, we need to keep this even as if we're kind of bouncing back and forth. Although you don't want to be bouncing back and forth, we want to stay vertical. But the transfer of weight that has to happen to load one side of the body and then the other side of the body and alternate to keep us really stable on one foot, then the other foot, then the other foot, as we do transfer our weight from foot to foot as we're stepping or walking when our legs aren't right underneath us, but evenly spaced apart from our center line and Earth's vertical gravity pull. We need to have an even transfer of weight. And that's what I'm saying with this video's title. An uneven amount of steps is an even transfer of weight, okay? In the Image Clothing Company's main side, 29th of June, 2026. So when we're taking steps, you can think of it how they do that marching chant, where they say left, 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 right, left. This is in uneven amounts, right? When you go left, right, left, that's an uneven amount. 3 steps in that case, but this keeps our bodies even, okay? What happens is we don't count this first step. To take one step, that's actually technically your second step from having a load-bearing area from right to left, right? Each transfer of weight, that's the second area where you have your weight loaded onto one of your feet. So if we take a step with our right foot, we didn't just take one step, we were essentially already stepped back here on our left foot. You have to start somewhere. You're already on the ground to be able to take one step. It's actually kind of technically your second step. It's your second area of contact from where you started, even though you wouldn't maybe consider the first starting point as a step. You see what I'm saying? So an uneven amount of steps, if we go like this, we go 1, 2, 3, okay, which is right, left, right in this case. Even though I took 3 steps, it's kind of technically 4. It's starting from one load-bearing spot, in this case on my left foot. So I'm actually starting on my left, and then I'm going right, left, right. So that's actually kind of technically 4 steps. So this is why an uneven amount of steps equals an even transfer of weight. Watch, I'll take 3 steps as if I'm running, okay? I'll go backward. It's kind of 4. You start at 1 before you take your first step. And then you go 1, 2, 3, and it's back, forth, and back. Back, forth, and back. But from where you started, 3 steps, 1, 2, 3, is actually 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. You start somewhere at 1, first time you step is 2, then 3, then 4. And so you've got this even back and forth and back and forth. Even with only 3 times you step down. Okay? 1, 2, 3 is really actually 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now, there's a big point that I'm making here because a lot of it is stairs. Okay? We can talk about sports, we could talk about just walking across a room, we could talk about just staying solid over Earth's vertical gravity pull and just understanding this transfer of weight that's happening. It starts where we're already just standing on Earth's gravity. We're already loaded with our weight, okay? And then if we take a step, now we're loaded a second time, even though we're on our first step. So uneven steps is actually an even transfer of weight. So when you're going upstairs, if you've got 1 step, you start somewhere and you evenly transfer your weight to the other side in 1 step, which would be an uneven amount of steps. Okay, you'd have 2, 4, 6, or 8, right? Even steps. You'd have 1, 3, 5, and 7 uneven steps, right? But if you've got 2 stairs you go up, this actually makes an uneven transfer of weight in the body, because you start somewhere, you transfer to one side, transfer to the other, and you didn't finish off transferring your weight. Physics, right? I'm not a physicist, if that's even how you say that. Okay, but every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if I stand here and I jump over here, that's opposite from where I was, but an equal transfer of weight, an equal load bearing over here now, because it was an uneven or opposite movement. If I do an even movement, like take 2 steps, oh, well, actually, that's why this is kind of confusing. Watch this. 1 step is actually the same thing as taking 3 steps. Okay, there's uneven at 1 or 3. Yikes! Stick with me with this because there's a big point to this. An even step, if you go 1, 2, that actually throws you off balance. Okay? Because you're starting to the right, but you don't keep going to the right. You step to the right, your body's starting this way, it wants to keep going that way. Like if you start upstairs with your right foot, okay, shoot. In the Image Clothing Company's main side, the 29th of June, 2026, here you go, right? An uneven amount of steps equals an even transfer of weight. So what'll happen is, as you take steps up, let's say we just step up once, we transfer weight, okay? And we're solid. We started one way and we stopped there. But if I take 2 steps up, I start one way, transfer of weight, but now going to the other way, I've got to take my transfer of weight and just reverse it back to the other side, and that takes more effort. If I go 3 steps, another uneven amount of steps, like 1 step, I start up one way and I finish going the same way, right? Right, left, right. I'm still transferring to the same way that I started, okay? If I go left, right, left, an uneven amount of steps equals an even transfer of weight. Starting at the bottom, if I go left, right, left, I end going the same direction or on the same side of transferring my weight as I started, okay? Left, right, left, it's even, okay? Right, left, right, it's even because it's this back and forth bouncing of weight, but it's ending where I started. You start left, transfer right, keep going left. Your weight's wanting to keep going where you start moving to, okay? You create the motion, and it wants to keep going that way, right? So, 1 step is uneven amounts of steps, but it's an even transfer of weight. Okay? 2 steps is an even amount of steps, but it's an uneven amount of transfer of weight. Okay? Not that we can't do this, but when we measure it out, like the weight and where it's going to want to be continuing to move to, it'll want to keep going the same way we stepped first. So even just walking on the ground, you go right, left, right, you're planted with an uneven amount of 3 steps. But if you go right, left, your transfer of weight wants to keep going right because you started the movement right. And it wants to keep going that way, okay? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 steps here. That's an even amount of steps. If I go up these steps and I go left first, then I'll be going right, left, and ending right in an opposite way of where I started my motion. And so that's actually not an even transfer of weight. It's always going to want to bounce back to where it started, okay? Again, physics, truly. Inertia. You get something moving, and it wants to keep moving in that same direction. And the way that happens when we take steps is an uneven amount of steps. So if you're stepping upstairs, for example, that's why I'm here for this video with this stair set, is, yeah, you want to be taking an uneven amount of steps to do all you can to keep an even transfer of weight in your body, right? And you're solid. 3 steps, 1, 2, 3, uneven, but you start in one direction and you finish in the same direction. Okay? If I go left first, start in one direction, and with 3 steps, you finish in the same direction that you started in, that you started your motion toward. Okay? An uneven amount of steps is an even transfer of weight. Okay? This video is titled the 29th of June 2026 under In the Image Clothing Company's main site. So when we do step upstairs, it's going to feel, and it's not only about the feel, but it will feel easier to do, physically better on your body, but physically, like actual inertia, transfer of weight over Earth's center of gravity, and just the equal and opposite reaction that's happening, like literal physics. This is real, right? Really important to see is what I'm saying. You want an uneven amount of steps. So you end going the same direction you started. Left, right, left. Okay? Right, left, right. This uneven amount of 3 steps is an even transfer of weight. Okay? If I do 4 steps, I start up going one direction, but as I transfer my weight, I end going in opposite direction, and that's me having to use musculature in my body to move my body off-centered from Earth's vertical gravity pull from the direction that I started the movement in, okay? Movement wants to keep going once it starts, okay? It's called inertia. You get something started to move and it wants to keep moving, it will unless something stops it, right? And so there's things in place trying to stop our motion, gravity, you know, friction, okay, physics. I don't want to get talking about this like it's a science lesson more than I need to explain the anatomy, but because we all walk if you do, okay? You all take steps, I take steps if you do. Got two legs in this universal human design. They're evenly opposing the center of the body, above the hips, at the spine, for example, but they're also evenly opposing Earth's center of gravity. So we kind of go to one side, back to the other side, and then continue to the side we started with an uneven amount of steps. We're still going the same way we started. Okay? Right? So, this, I mean, a big point, I was thinking about this yesterday, okay? Because the big point is going upstairs. It's hard for a lot of people, but when we talk about things creating imbalances in the body, chronic patterning, oversized clothing, ropes, shoelaces, drawstrings that are just knots potentially twisting the entire body with one side over the other when we tie a knot, okay, on or around the body at all. And then all the things, rotated seams in clothing, collar seams, pockets, zippers, buttons, any kind of design choice, different, discrepant, left or right, front or back. Just the literal word of clothing, anything physically placed on the physical body. Here you go, in the Image Clothing Company. With this need for clothing to at very least stay centered, fit correct, things like joints of material of clothing, meshing with joints of body parts, and be made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials, just because matter cannot be created or destroyed, right? The body's only natural, it only grows because of what we eat, which is natural earth. Plants, they grow from the earth, or animals that eat plants that grow from the earth. Unnatural things are just taken from natural things. Anyway, the baseline understanding of clothing fitting proper, and we discuss very clearly under In the Image Clothing Company how clothing sits on the body with gravity is one of the big things, okay? Having the same effect on our clothing that it does on our bodies. We can't be getting into patterning through anything at all in life. You know, under In the Image Clothing Company here, we discuss clothing clearly, and a lot of free modifications that we give for a lot of modern man-made clothing design imbalances that are fairly universally shipped across this entire earth in this right-handed world, okay? We got to keep our bodies centered. It's because of physics, and that's why I'm discussing this, you know, these laws of every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and, you know, inertia, and we talk about gravity, we talk about just the measurable mathematical degrees of hinges, levers, and rotations in the human being, determined by the shape and length of our own bones just connecting directly to each other. How there truly is only one way the human body could ever physically, possibly, mechanically operate, and there's no possible opinion to it. Truly, okay? It could matter on it, myself included. There's no possible opinion to it. You know, the feet flat on the ground, the pant waistline not changing the pelvis, and all sorts of things all throughout clothing. We get into it in great depth under In the Image Clothing Company. But what I'm saying, here on our main side, right, this video here, an uneven amount of steps equals an even transfer of weight. If you're going to be taking steps upstairs, you could actually create imbalances in your body. Let's say you've got the same stairs set you're walking up many times in a day, and it's got an even amount of steps to it. You're having to fight and battle against inertia to transfer your weight back to the other side if you don't have an even amount of steps, okay? One step, an uneven amount, is an even transfer of weight. 2 steps, an uneven amount, is an uneven transfer of weight because now you're stopping, going a direction that's different than the direction you started. 3 steps, an uneven amount of steps, is an even transfer of weight. Then we can keep going up. 4 is an even amount of steps that's an uneven amount of transfer of weight. And then 5, an uneven amount of steps, is an even transfer of weight. And so going up, and then we can just keep climbing in numbers until we get as high as you want, as many steps as you could possibly take. An uneven amount of steps is the body staying locked in, vertical. Feet evenly opposing the center line of the body at our foundation, gripping arches inward to keep us atop this vertical pull to gravity. It meshes with our bodies above our hips at the spine, for example. The jaw stabilizing the entire body throughout, right in the very center. Regardless of if you start with your right foot first, right, left, right, or you start with your left foot first and you go left, right, left. We want to be ending in the same direction that we started. So I can step up these stairs and I can skip a step in between here, and I can take these 4 steps and actually turn it into just, oh no, that wouldn't work. That would be 2 if I cut it in half. I'll just take 3 steps up, okay? Start right, finish right with 3 steps, okay? You go right, left, right, okay? Left, right, left, even. All right, I go up and I start with the left and I finish with the left. Left, right, left, come down, right, left, right. So you start moving your weight to the same side. You finish moving it to, that was 3 steps, even though I only went up 2 of the stairs because I took a step before. Anyway, I don't want to confuse you with the way I'm explaining this. I want to make it clear because this actually is a big deal. What I'm saying is we can get patterning created in our bodies where, let's say you're always, or just about always, taking your first step upstairs with your right foot. Well, there you go, okay? Right, left, right. You're still going right once you end, because you were going right when you started. Now you're always only, if that's the case, just stepping up with your right foot first, and you're always loading your right side. Because even though we're transferring weight back and forth from our center of gravity and the spine above our hips at the center of our bodies, we're still, in a sense, kind of moving right. You know, we're just transferring weight more to the right side of our center of gravity than our left side. Even if you don't step outside of your center of gravity, you know, more than just the natural slight amount you'd have to accommodate to just keep the weight over your feet within your body's own width, right? Seen with context, I mean, that's the context. What I'm saying is, you know, even staying very supported and stable, we still are loading weight on only one side or the other of the body. And if you always start with just your right foot first and living in this right-handed world, that's very common, then you can get into an imbalance just from climbing stairs. So we need to be able to start with our left side as well as our right, or our right side as well as our left, okay? Now we go left, right, left, even because we started left and we finished left, right, left, right, even because we started right and we finished right. But also, yeah, the amount of steps, here's the wind. The amount of steps we take, we want to try to do what we can to end climbing stairs, for example, or even just walking on the same foot we started on. Okay? To keep the weight evenly transferring as we walk. So, you know, I mean, I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm like, this is something to be kind of silly to be overly particular about, But in all truth, if we could have an uneven amount of steps and stairs, like you've got a stairs set with just 1 or 3 or 5 or 7 steps and so forth, with an odd or uneven amount of steps, that will keep your body more centered. Let's say you're taking the same stairs every day and you've got an uneven amount of steps, like how there's 4 here. I'm going to have to end on a different side of my body than I started, loading the weight on. So I take my first step here with my left foot, but because there's an even amount of steps, now we go 2, 3, and 4. I end loading the opposite side of my body that I started with. And what I'm doing is fighting this motion of inertia, or this starting of movement to my left side, by trying to end going a different way. And that's actually hard, because we're just transferring from the center of our gravity and the center line of our bodies, because the feet are on either side. We want this even transfer of weight that comes with an uneven amount of steps. But as I was saying earlier, essentially, before we actually step down for our first time, we're already stepped down because we're on Earth's gravity. So really, yeah, I don't want to confuse you, but 1 step forward is actually your second point of contact, right? It's not like 1 step forward is the first time we've been on the ground. It's actually transferring weight to our second point. So, in a way, it's kind of backward. This is one of those things that could be easily confused with what I'm saying, but, right? Just always continue to go to the side you load first. Right, left, right, or left, right, left. Here's the wind. Let's finish. Let's do some of this. Okay. Anyway, yikes. I don't know how loud that wind noise is, but my name is Evan Strong. I am the founder and leader for life of In The Image Clothing Company. We'll discuss things like this, we discuss clothing because it's the only thing physically placed on us. Everything we do in our lives, we're doing it in and through whatever we're literally clothing our bodies with, the only thing physically placed onto us. So, staying centered, fitting correct, being made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials. We'll always have good clothing available under In The Image Clothing Company if you'd like to purchase it. But we do give a lot of free modifications in anyone's designs. And we discuss just the anatomy of the body and just navigating life in all the ways: eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration. But everything we do, we're just doing all things in life in and through our clothing. So transfers of weight like this, it won't feel normal if you've got an imbalanced clothing item on you already just pushing you off to one side or the other, left, right, front or back from your center of gravity. You're already going to be imbalanced anyway. So, clothing, okay? In the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique, just the only way the top of the feet are shaped. Zero drop, the term in any brand of shoe. And then a lot of things with clothing, we just discuss very clearly how clothing needs to sit onto this universal human design. And those with different bodies, very specifically different, very small percentile of human beings. If you've got things like deformities, amputations, birth defects, major surgeries that have altered your body, we address these things if and where, but the body's all designed the same, right, at baseline. So it doesn't matter who you are, man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be, you're just a human being. The body only can ever possibly do just what it does. But we get very far out of touch from what that is if we do, and we do. Living in this modern man-made world placed onto God's natural earth, a lot of things are damaging our bodies outside of clothing as well, and we discuss that also. So anyway, In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, In The Image Clothing Company podcast with discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, and In The Image Clothing Company music The other 3 sides of us, we're on episode 209 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast as of today's date, the 29th of June, 2026. Check us out here in the state of Utah, specifically St. George, Utah, in the United States of America here. There you go. Thank you.